Welcome to Teachings and Education with me, Teacher Isa. This video will cover everything you would ever need to know about special education. This video is intended for parents, general education teachers, special education teachers, and even students. We'll begin with a short overview of special education. Special ed is intended to educate students in a way that addresses their specific needs. So what is the purpose? It should build upon and enhance the student's strengths, but also identify the weaknesses, says mathematics, that provides supports the specific needs and weaknesses to help them succeed in those areas. The history of special education was a long journey, beginning where disabled children were excluded from education and placed in institutions like schools, to now where children are protected by law. A large number of special education students feel a stigma from being labeled. Unfortunately, that label causes these students to feel shame and resent the school system in general. This label also leads teachers into the sort bigotry of low expectation. Teachers feel sorry for these students and don't expect them to be able to succeed and wrongly, so they dumb down their teachings. Next, how do students become eligible for special education? Well, it starts with a referral. In fact, schools have an obligation to quote, find children with these disabilities. The referral leads to a comprehensive evaluation using psychometric tests. Licensed school personnel carry out these tests and interpret the results. An IEP team is formed and they make the determination of eligibility. The determination is measured by two criteria points. First, the child must fall into one of the 14 identified disabled categories. Second, the disability must be adverse to the child's education. If criteria is met, an IEP is written. The IEP must be followed by teachers, school personnel. Annual meetings must take place. Moving on into the least restricted environment, LRE. The LRE describes a cascade of services for students, and that basically describes the various educational settings that special education students are placed in. The least restricted environment is one where special education students spend most of their time with non-disabled peers, meaning a general education classroom. A more restricted environment is one where students spend part of their day in special education classes and the other part of their time in general education classes. Getting more restrictive is having students spending their entire day in special education classes. A further restrictive environment is to place students in all special education schools where they don't get any time with non-disabled peers. Lastly, we have a homebound of residential setting students are further isolated and kept from non-disabled peers. This setting is considered the most restrictive of all settings mentioned here. Now we're going to move on to the Individualized Education Plan, the IEP. Students that are classified as having a disability are given an IEP, which is a legal document to be enforced. The first component of an IEP is a statement of services, which details the types of services the child will receive. The rationale aligns with the statement of services. IEPs must have both short-term and long-term goals. The goals must be measurable, as specific as possible. Next is the present level of education performance, which simply describe how a student is currently doing. IEPs must have protected dates for initiation and duration of services. Next is accommodation and modifications. Accommodations must put in place for state testing. Students need to have planned for transition and post-secondary life beginning at the age of 16 until they graduate from high school. Now let's take a look at some of the major legislation that create the system of special education. First up to Public Law 94-142. The cornerstone is FAPE, which stands for Free and Appropriate Public Education for All Children. Next, it makes improvements to Public Law 94-142 in terms of research and technology for special education. The law also brings the attention bilingual education. Next up is No Child Left Behind. This act is the best known for school choice and giving options to students and attend schools that do not meet their annual yearly progress. Continuing with the Individuals and Disabilities Education Improvement Act, the law ensures equity and accountability for special needs. Students' IT addresses response to intervention, RTI. And lastly, the SSA gives more power to the states in terms of choosing their standards. It also retains some policies of standardized testing from No Child Left Behind. On to classroom instructions. And the first topic is modifications. Modifications are changes to the content of learning goals. For a student, the first example is to allow alternative reading books and materials for special ed students. Books may be tailored to the interest and based on their readings level. You can provide opportunities to retake quizzes, and a more common modification may be allowing students to meet the corrections and counter problems that they previously got wrong. Example is to provide work banks, their exams. This because for the fill-in type question. Some teachers reduce the numbers of questions for their tests for special education students. These are modifications that general education students would not receive. Next are accommodations. Accommodations are change in the way students can access content or text. The first example is preferential seating. These students get closer and closer to access the teacher during the lesson. If students have trouble accessing material through writing, you can use books on tapes. Students can get extended time during testing. They can have longer duration of access to questions and test content. Some teachers use accommodations that go as far as to allow for open notebooks during exams. Next, we have moved on to some actual teaching strategies for special education. Special education students the most require differentiated instruction, and teachers can differentiate by three different ways: the content, the process, and the product. Classroom lessons and assignments should be broken down into smaller, more manageable task-formative assessment. Important because these students quickly fail behind their non-disabled peers. Graphic organizing will especially help by outlining construction between concept and ideas. Teachers should use questioning techniques to keep the students engaged and help expand on their existing knowledge. Problem-solving strategies will help close the existing achievement gaps found in their standardized test scores. Help the students out by sending reminders time to time again and use technology to do it. And lastly, build cognitive rigor through the lesson objectives to develop the necessary critical thinking skills. The classroom environment may be adapted for special education students. One way is to limit visual distractions. This includes bright dazzling posters, models, and figures. Teachers should create and enforce speaker rules. This will limit the amount of interruptions that occur for special needs students that quickly forget. Labels can really come in handy for classroom supplies. Teachers should also provide class schedules for further organization. Relaxing music will often help settle down a rambunctious classroom of students. Teachers need to instill protocols for action and such as going to bathroom, sharpening pencils, and much more. More students have poor proper lighting so they see the board and their assignments. And special needs students must take preference in the seating arrangement. Next, behavior intervention strategies. Special education of today are becoming more and more familiar with applied behavior analysis as a scientific approach to behavioral management. Functional behavior management, known as FBAs, are used to find the root causes of problem behavior. Behavior intervention plans are created using data from FBAs along with the data of ABC charts, meaning antecedent behavior and consequences. Many special education schools are incorporating positive behavior intervention and support system. Positive students' behavior can earn their privileges and cash and tokens for reward. The next section is assistive technology. Assistive technology does not include medical devices that are surgically implanted or the replacement of the device. Examples of that include specialized wheelchairs, switches and controls, various apps, pencil grips, arm or voice activation, calculators, and much more. Assistive technology should lead to an increase in productivity, performance, and learning. It also should also be used for vision, hearing, memory, and much more. Now let's take a look at curriculum. Special education students in particular benefit from emerging curriculum, which are projects and activities that have been inspired by students. Similarly, there is functional curriculum, which focuses on the basic living skills along with vocational skills. Just because these students are special needs doesn't mean they should be challenged with higher order skills. Curriculum should reflect that special education students usually require a slower pace of curriculum delivery as compared to general education students. And lastly, cooperative learning can be used as a way to foster soft skills for special needs students. Now, onto the inclusion movement. The inclusion movement is a belief that students with disabilities belong to the general education classroom. This movement is based on the idea that there is no excuses to leaving special needs students out of the general education classroom. The school just needs to find a way to make it work. And one way to make it work is by providing support for the students. The supports are designed to help students reach the ultimate goal of a diploma. And if it isn't working, schools create alternative paths to get a diploma. On to families of special needs students. Educators should look to build a relationship with families of special needs students. The first step towards building a relationship with families is to create a safe and supportive environment. Basically, the schools needs to do the job first. Educators should be professional in their meetings with their families. Families are going to have their concerns, and it's up to the educators to explore these concerns. Educators also have a duty to inform parents of their rights. Many schools today have out advocacy. As a special teacher, every day in our job is different, and there may be challenges that come with it. One of the primary causes of teacher burnout is an excessive workload. Let me share to you my song parody, No Child Left Behind. All the teachers around the world, thank you for your patience and services to the children of our country.
I'm a special teacher, but it seems to me I might need to get my low degree because everything's about paperwork to the sky. And now and then when I see the kid's face, reminds me why I come to this place. But then there's my paperwork and I want to break down and cry. Oh, 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 no child left behind. Oh, 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 no child left behind. And these acronyms are killing me like CRTs and now EQT and PST. They want to know if it's RTI. And you must write a perfect IEP and don't forget to do your PLP. And if you don't need strategies, if you gotta surely die. Oh, sweet child of mine. Oh, 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 no child left behind.